All right, in the last lesson, we took a look at the impact of cash when it comes to the revenue recognition principle. In this lesson, we're going to do the same thing, but we're not going to look at the revenue side. We're now going to look at the expense side, which is part of the income statement. Revenues minus expenses are also on the income statement. So we're going to look at what we call the matching principle or the expense recognition principle. So that's what we're going to do here. And we're going to look at the impact of cash to the matching principle. So let's get started here. Again, reminder some of the things that we already know from the last couple of lessons. In this course, we're concerned with the accrual method rather than the cash method. Under the matching principle for accrual method, we're not concerned when cash is paid for an expense. We're concerned more about when the expense actually happens. Now, the matching principle is also known as the expense recognition principle. I can tell you just from my experience, I've learned it as the matching principle because it makes the most sense in my head on calling it the matching principle, but you might also hear it as the expense recognition principle. They both mean the same thing. It's just the way that you've been taught might dictate which one you lean to use more when you're talking about this idea, okay? Now, the types of expenses, generally a company has two types of expenses. The first type of expenses are expenses related to revenue generating activities. What we mean by that is that the expense is based on a sale happening or a revenue happening. It's directly associated with that, okay? So if I were to sell you, let's say this, then the cost of this to me, so if I bought this for $1, sold it to you for $2, that $1, the cost, that expense is associated with the revenues. If I don't sell this to you, then the expense hasn't happened yet. So the expense has to happen, which means I have to sell it to you before the expense happens. So that expense, I wouldn't have incurred this expense unless I was going to sell it to you. The other type of expense that you're going to see a corporation have or a company have is that it's an expense not directly associated with revenues generating activities. So these are expenses that don't have a good connection to revenue, but they're necessary. So for instance, maintenance of the building that the headquarters is operated in, right? So the maintenance is needed so that the employees have a place where they can actually work. Is that important for revenue? Absolutely. If we didn't have a headquarter that was, strategically figuring out how to create more sales or strategically figuring out how to create the best product for the customers, then we wouldn't even have a company that was making money at all or bringing in revenue. So it's important, but it's not directly associated with me selling you this, okay? It's an indirect cost. So these costs occur because the company needs to incur them, but they are not associated with the actual revenue generating activity. That's an indirect activity, okay? So those are the two types of expenses a company has. It's either directly associated with revenue or it's not. Okay, and that's what we're going to be talking about here in this lesson. Now, when it comes to expenses related to revenue generating activities, that would be, again, the cost of this that I'm going to sell to you for $2. We book expenses on revenue generating activities in the same period as the revenue. We match the expense to the revenue. So an example would be a store's inventory. So what does that mean? Now we'll talk about this in another section in more greater detail, but basically this. So I go out to, let's say, Sam's Club and I buy this wholesale for $1, right? And then I put it on my shelf and hopefully you as a customer comes and buys it from me for $2, right? So I pay Sam's Club $1 today, right? That dollar is a cost to me, but it's not an expense. Why? Because I haven't sold this yet. We want to match the revenues to expense, which means that sure, I'm out of $1 because I have to pay Sam's Club $1 for this, but because it's still sitting on my shelf and it hasn't been sold, I can't book this $1 expense. So if you look on my income statement, this is not on there yet. Why? Because I have to match this expense with the revenue that's incurred. If I don't sell it, I can't book the expense. So it sits in an account called inventory and it's an asset and it just sits there, okay? Then when a customer comes in, so you come in, you buy this for $2. When I sell this to you for $2 and you give me the $2, we're gonna book the revenue, the $2, debit cash for $2, credit sales revenues for $2. But at the same time, that also means that the expense has incurred, because we're going to match the expenses to what actually makes the expense happen, the sale. Okay, so at the same time, I'm going to book another entry. We're going to debit cost of goods sold for $1 because that's how much this costs, and then we're going to credit the inventory account for $1. So what does that mean? That means that on my income statement, I'm going to show revenues of $2 because that's how much I sold this to you for. But I'm also going to see something called cost of goods sold for $1, showing me a profit of $1. So 2 minus 1 equals $1. Okay. So we want to match the expense, so the cost of this, to what actually makes it an expense. Now, why is that important? Because if I don't sell this, technically I could probably return this to Sam's Club and get my dollar back. So then I never had an expense at all. Okay. So when we think about inventory or things that are directly associated with sales, we hold off on booking the expense, the $1, until we actually sell it. So if this stays on my shelf for 2 years, it's not going to show up on my income statement for 2 years, even though I paid for this 2 years ago. Okay. So understanding, we don't book the expense for something that's revenue generating until we actually sell it, whatever produces the revenue. So we match the expense, the $1, to the revenue by selling it. Okay. Now, what about if it's not associated with revenue? So it's an indirect kind of expense that is not associated to the actual sale of a good. Well, this is how we deal with those. We book expenses in the period in which the expenses are incurred. So for instance, the maintenance guy who comes around, that expense we book in the period that maintenance person provided their services. So they provided their services in the month of June, we're going to book it in June. Versus if the sale doesn't happen until April of next year, we'll book the expense in April of next year, even though we paid Sam's Club June of this year. Okay, so we book the expenses in the period in which the expense is incurred. So any indirect expenses, whenever it's incurred, we book that expenses then. So in June, we're going to report the maintenance expense then, rather than hold it off until the revenue happens. Well, when do we know the revenue happens? What's that expense associated to what type of revenue? We really can't really define it. It's really indirect. So we're just going to expense it in the period that it incurs. So some examples of this include utilities expense, which we really don't know, when that is associated with a revenue. Advertising expense. Some would say that advertising drives sales. Correct. But it's hard to figure out when an advertising campaign directly impacts sales, because for instance, if you think of commercials, there are some commercials that just want you to get familiar with the company, right? So it might be a Gatorade commercial, and they're not selling a Gatorade. They're just showing you, an athlete and how they drink Gatorade, but they're not promoting you to go out and actually buy Gatorade. They're just promoting the Gatorade brand. Well, if that brand, if you're 12 years old and you don't have any money, and you keep seeing that commercial, the payoff for them isn't until you get to maybe 16 or 17, you actually are being a conscious consumer and you're actually wanting to drink Gatorade versus Powerade, right? So the revenue actually occurs way later than when the advertising expense actually happens. So thinking about that when we talk about, when do we book it? Well, let's just book it in the period it happens, because we really can't identify when the revenue occurs, because it could be a very long time before it occurs. Salaries of managers and executives. So managers and executives are not necessarily associated with the direct sale of the product, and therefore that is going to book in the period that in which it was incurred, rather than matching that to some type of revenue. All right, so the accrual method. Remember that we don't care when cash was paid. Instead, we're concerned with matching the expense to the related revenue if we can. If we can't, we do it in the period in which the expense has been incurred. All right, so we're looking at the timing of the expense rather than the payment occurred, just like we do with the revenue side. All right, so what about cash? So impact of cash, again, we've got our timeline here, and let's assume that in the middle here, the exchange actually happens. The question is there's, what about cash? So there's 3 scenarios in which cash affects an expense. And so we're going to go through that here. So the first scenario is when cash is received before the expense actually happens. So now we're the company maybe prepays for inventory that it's going to receive, or maybe the company is going to pay a service provider in advance, like a deposit for services that they're going to get over the next month. So cash is paid before the expense actually incurs, which does mean that technically the company could ask for that money back if the service has not been performed yet. Different story when it comes to contracts, but generally speaking, think of it that simplistically. All right, so when that happens, we call that prepaid expense. So we're prepaying the expense. For you as a consumer, a great example of this is a gift card, right? So you go out and you buy, for whatever reason, you go out and you buy a gift card for a local store. So you buy a $100 gift card for a local store, and the reason why you're doing that is maybe you're doing that to cost control yourself from overspending at that store. Great way of doing it, maybe. So you have that. So you're prepaying the expense. The expense is going to happen. When does the expense happen? The expense happens when you swipe the gift card for the actual product or services that you're getting. Okay, so you're prepaying the expense. Technically, you could ask for a refund. Now, there are some rules against that, but you could technically ask for a refund, and they should be able to give you the cash back for the amount of value that's still left on the gift card. So cash is paid before the expense occurs. The second scenario in which cash can actually affect an expense is when the expense happens at the same time cash is paid. So, for instance, a company takes their employees out to a dinner. Most of the time, that is not under the on account method. Usually, if you take your employees to dinner, the restaurant's probably going to ask for payment at that time that you take them out to dinner. So that exchange happens exactly when the expense actually happens. So a cash occurs with the expense. The third scenario in which cash affects expense is when the expense happens, but cash is paid later. So cash is paid after the expense occurs. We call that accrued expenses. We're accruing the expenses now, but we'll pay them later. Another example is utilities. Typically, you pay the utilities after you've used the utilities. Why? Because the utility company doesn't know how much to bill you until they know how much you use. Once they figure out how much you use, they can then bill you. And so that is accruing expenses. You'll accrue the expenses, and then you'll get a bill at the end of the day, or the end of the month, and then you'll pay on that bill. You're paying the cash after you've used the electricity, which would be an expense. So that's a third scenario in which cash affects the expenses. So that's kind of the timeline. These are the three scenarios in which cash actually affect the expenses. Remembering here, in this case here, we're not going to book the expense, so we won't book the expense until it actually occurs. This one right here, we're going to book the expense in the period it happens, so that's on this date. And then this one over here, because the expense has happened, we're going to book that over here as well. So we're not going to defer any expenses over there. We're actually going to book the expense there, even though the cash is paid later on. Opposite is true over here on this left-hand side. We're going to hold off on that expense until the expense actually happens. So we might debit prepaid whatever, prepaid utilities, prepaid insurance, prepaid expense, and then credit cash for the cash that is paid in advance. Okay, so that's kind of how cash affects the expense cycle, or the expense recognition principle. Let's look at some of the examples here. So the first example here, in May, company A incurred $5,000 of cleaning expenses from the cleaning company, who comes in each and every night and cleans the office. Company A receives the bill and makes payment on the expense in June. Under which month should company A book the expense? Well, again, we're looking at when did the expense actually happen, and if there's a revenue component. In this case, there is no revenue component because the cleaning is kind of separate from the revenue, and it doesn't say anything about revenue at all. So therefore, we're going to book it in the period it happened. When did it happen? It happened in May. So because it happened in May, we're going to book it in May rather than in June when the payment happens. Okay, moving on to the second example here. Company A purchases $10,000 worth of inventory on May 31st in cash. The inventory is put on the store shelves on June 1st. All the inventory is sold by the end of the month. In which month should company A report the expense of the $10,000 inventory? Well, again, so we're matching the expense to the revenue. When did the revenue happen? It happened in June because we sold it in June. It also, we didn't even have it on the shelves until June, so we can't even say that we used it up in May because they weren't even on the shelves in May. Therefore, we're going to match the expense, the $10,000, to the period in which it incurred. It was incurred when the revenue happened. The revenue happened in June. Therefore, we're going to book the expense in June, not May. Sure, we paid for it in May, but it's like a prepaid. We prepaid it, and then we put it on our shelves. Technically, we could probably return them, but we're not. We're going to sell them, and we're going to sell them when? We're going to sell them in June. We're going to match the revenue, the expenses to the revenue. The revenue happened in June. That's when we're going to do that. Okay. All right, last one here. On May 4th, 5 employees from Company A head to a local event and paid $20 in parking fees. Their secretary reimbursed the employees the $20 on May 5th. So the next day, they get reimbursed. So when do we book the expense? What month should it be reported in? May, because that's when it happened. So it happened in May. We really don't care about the cash, but the cash is important too. The cash was paid on 1 day later, so the cash happened pretty instantaneously when we think about a whole year. So in this case, we're going to book that expense in May because that's when it was incurred, and it happened to also be paid in May as well. Okay, so those are our examples when it comes to the expense recognition principle or the matching principle. And again, what's the purpose here is we want to understand, when do we book expenses? We book expenses either when they happen, in the period that they happen, if they're not associated with a direct line to a revenue purpose, or if they're directly associated with a revenue, then we are going to hold off on the expense until the revenue happens. So we're going to match the expenses to the revenue. So you got to figure out, first question is this related to a revenue or not? If it's not, expense in the period that it happens or it incurs. If it did, we're going to wait off until the revenue happens. When the revenue happens, we're going to book the expense at the same time. Now, we'll have plenty of practice on those two key issues as we go through the course. So we're just trying to help you understand it. If you don't understand it fully, that's okay. We'll get to it in a couple of sections later on. But you should start to understand this expense recognition. When do we incur the expense? And is it because of revenue? If it is, we might have to defer the expense until the revenue happens. If not, we'll go ahead and book the expense in the period that it is incurred. So hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, it is Patrick. Don't forget to press the like button and share this video with someone who could get a lot of use from watching this lesson, like maybe a classmate or maybe a friend or maybe just a parent, just because you wanted to share this video because you're very excited about what you saw. Share it with someone. And if you want to help us grow and help us make sure that we put the very best in accounting topics out on YouTube, make sure you press the subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. That way you're alerted every time we post videos to this channel. Now, I do this with every one of my classes at the end of class. What did you learn from this lesson? Put that in the comment section below, and I'll respond to you on what you got out of this video. So hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next lesson.